Let me ask you something real quick. If someone offered you life-changing money at 25, would you actually say no? Because Oscar didn't. And that single decision turned him into one of the most misunderstood footballers of his generation. When Oscar burst onto the scene at Chelsea, it felt like we were watching the start of something special. Not maybe special, definitely special. Champions League debut against Juventus. 2 goals, confidence dripped from every touch. He looked like the future, not just for Chelsea, but for Brazil too. This was a guy people expected to dominate Europe for the next decade. And for a while, everything followed the script. League titles, big matches, big moments, a World Cup, the number 10 shirt. He wasn't some fringe player either. He was trusted, relied on, central to how Chelsea played during their most chaotic, competitive years. But here's the part fans don't always like to admit. Even when things look perfect on the outside, players feel shifts before we do. Chelsea started changing. Systems changed. Managers came and went. Oscar was still important, but he could feel the ground moving under his feet. And then something happened that football wasn't ready for yet. China showed up, and they didn't whisper. They didn't promise a legacy. They didn't sell dreams. They showed numbers, big ones. Numbers that didn't just improve his life, they locked it in. At 25 years old, Oscar was staring at a contract that could secure his entire future before most players even peak. So he took it, and instantly everything flipped. Fans didn't just disagree, they judged. Headlines screamed about wasted talent. Commentators spoke like he'd betrayed the sport. Online, his name became shorthand for selling out. And what really fueled the outrage was that Oscar didn't pretend. He didn't dress it up. He didn't say it was about a new challenge or growing the game. He said the quiet part out loud. He said it was about money. That honesty hit people harder than the move itself. But here's where the story gets interesting. Because while everyone was angry, Oscar didn't disappear. He went to Shanghai and actually played. And not casually. He became the face of the league. He dictated games, delivered assists, won titles, and carried pressure most foreign players never handle well. While fans in Europe stopped watching, he was living inside a different reality. One where security replaced uncertainty. Still, there was a price. International football faded. Brazil moved on, Champions League nights became memories instead of routines, and every young player who even hinted at leaving Europe early got the same warning: don't be the next Oscar. For years, he stood alone as the example of what not to do. And then football changed. Saudi Arabia arrived. Suddenly, players with Champions League medals, Ballon d'Ors, and global legacies were making the exact same choice. Only this time, the reaction felt different, softer, more understanding. People started using words like smart and business decision, the same logic Oscar used, just without the backlash. That's when you realize something uncomfortable. Oscar wasn't wrong. He was early. Fast forward to now, and his story comes full circle. After years in China, Oscar returns to Brazil with Sao Paulo, not chasing relevance, not begging for a comeback narrative. Just playing football again on his own terms. You can see it in how he moves, how he talks. There's no desperation, no edge, just calm. He's already won the game most players are secretly playing, and that changes everything. He doesn't need to prove anything anymore. He doesn't need to impress Europe. He doesn't need to chase one last contract. He plays because he wants to, not because he has to. That freedom? Most players never get it. Looking back, the irony is impossible to ignore. Oscar was criticized for making a decision that football now openly accepts. He took the hit before it was trendy. He carried the label so others wouldn't have to, and he did it without pretending to be something he wasn't. Was there a cost? Of course. His European legacy will always feel unfinished. We'll always wonder what he could have become if he stayed. But what if doesn't pay bills? And it doesn't guarantee happiness either. Oscar chose certainty over applause, control over approval, and in a sport where careers end faster than people realize, that choice looks less selfish with every passing year. So the next time you hear someone say, he left for money, remember this: money wasn't the story, timing was. And Oscar simply read the future before the rest of us caught up. If this made you see football careers a little differently, hit like, stick around, and keep watching, because the most interesting parts of the game usually happen off the pitch.